Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Talking Triathlon, a podcast where you guessed it, we talk about triathlon. My name is Tim Ford. That is James Bale, and we are back, Jimbo. How are you going, mate?
I'm pretty damn good, mate, to be honest. The week is moving along nicely, is what I tried to say until my word got stuck in my mouth. And I'm heading towards Nice very soon. So I'm looking forward to getting a bit of late summer sun because it's not warm over here anymore, and I need to go down and get a little bit of that 24 to 30 degree heat that they're promising in Nice for the Women's Ironman World Championship.
Now, this is an interesting concept for me because at this time last year, rewind the clock 12 months, and I was in Europe. I was in the UK and I was in France around Nice. I actually think this was race weekend last year, I think, wasn't it? I think the race was
Yeah,
earlier.
maybe. Mm.
This time last year, I was in Europe and it was really hot.
Mm.
Like Nice was, I couldn't believe how hot it was in Nice. Even London and Paris was a bit cooler when I went from Nice up to Paris. And then when I was in the UK, it wasn't cold, but it wasn't hot. Like it was pleasant. And all I'm hearing at the moment, typical Brits with their weather chat, is like it's freezing. And I go, what's
Yeah,
happened?
it's suddenly dipped right off. I went for a run earlier today in just a t-shirt, and I regretted that decision partway through the run because it was a little too cold to run in a t-shirt. So that'll tell you where it's at. I didn't warm up enough on that run to make it comfortable. But Nice is 24 to 30, so hopefully we'll have some
Mm.
some some late summer sun down there for
So
the
much
women's
cooler
race.
than because last year I think it was like 36.
Yeah,
So
last year it was sweltering hot.
it was
But with
hot last year.
last summer was ridiculous in France. I was spent a lot of time there last summer, and it
This
was
summer,
nigh on unbearable.
remember
I
us in
did this summer as
Paris?
well.
We
But
had to go
yeah,
buy new
but
shirts.
last summer I was in just outside Lyon for about a week when the Tour de France was on, and there were a couple of days that I just was sitting on the sofa in my pants with a fan on me because I wasn't going anywhere. It was too hot to move.
I was talking to a British person about Asia this week, and they are traveling to Asia, and they were going, "Oh, we're just it's I'm worried about the humidity and the heat, and it's going to be so hot." And I said, unlike Europe, in Asia, everywhere has air conditioning. Like it is not like not going to France and booking a hotel, and it's like, does it have air conditioning or not? No, oh no, everything like you literally live in air conditioning down there, so they know how to deal with it. I said Europe just seems completely incompetent. Like it gets hot, and they're like, "What is this? What do we do?"
Yeah, especially France, especially France. But
And the
there you go.
UK.
How are you, mate? Anyway, you all right?
No, I am.
Taper week. Taper week is we're deep into it now. By the time this podcast comes out, you'll be a day away from your race, won't you?
The podcast comes out today, so it's 2 days away, I guess. But this time in 2 days, because it's Friday morning at the moment and Sunday morning I'm running, I will be, what are we, 20? I should be like 4 or 5K into the marathon. 6:06 start is too early, mate. And they want you there an hour before to get in your start area. So I'm going to get up at like 3:30 in the morning or something. What
Yeah,
is it
it's
with
ridiculous.
it's the worst part about endurance sport. It's the biggest turn off with triathlon for me is I hate that it's always early. And now this marathon, fucking 6 a.m. start. And they,
Yeah,
and they, they make it
it
like
is a
it's a
bit
positive.
much. I mean, them saying that a 6 a.m. start is a benefit to you is marketing genius because, like you say, you're getting out of bed at 3 o'clock, mate. You're going to be eating some food at half three, 4 o'clock, and then having a bit of a digest rest before you stroll into Sydney Centre, I assume, for the start of the race. So
North
yeah,
Sydney.
it's
Yeah, actually, when you run across the Harbour Bridge, that is cool. So you start in North
yeah,
Sydney,
that's pretty
run, and
cool.
then it's like probably the first 2 or 3K, yeah, run straight across that Harbour Bridge. So yeah, but man, fucking hell, I'm not. It's such a funny thing with me is I'm very rarely nervous about the race. I always get really nervous about having to get up so early, which is I'm an early riser. Like I get up at 5 or 6, every day. That's not, but there is something about like I
Yeah,
always
so do
said
I.
3 to 4 o'clock. No person has any business being awake
No,
again. Like,
no. And that's the thing. That's one of the worst, like you say, I will buttress what you said. One of the worst things about endurance sport and doing an Ironman or half Ironman is getting up at half fucking three in the morning to eat some food that you really,
I want
really don't fancy at that time in the morning with too many carbohydrates in it and too much sugar, and then trying to sort of have a doze before you get out there and rack all your stuff up for the final thing and put your bottles on your bike. It's unfun. So normally the beauty of doing a marathon is you don't have to do that, but unfortunately you do this weekend.
honestly,
But
yeah, it's
irrespective of that, mate, how's the taper feeling?
I've actually I've been
Are
I don't
you
know.
feeling like a pent up stored energy unit?
It's been the opposite, and I've actually been shot. I've done like 5 hours training this week or something, which is for me, I'm normally double, triple that by this point, and I'm thinking I'm gonna like, oh, it's gonna be. I've been really flat, and again, it's been so long since I've done a proper taper for an event because the last few races I've done, I've basically not tapered at all, and yeah, so I'm hoping that maybe today, tomorrow, I'll perk up, or maybe I've timed it perfectly that come Sunday morning, I'll be absolutely chomping at the bit, ready to get out
Yeah, I
there.
mean, that is the mystery of a taper week, isn't it? You either start to feel like you're feeling ill or you start to feel like you're flat and aren't fit and don't have any energy and you're in that category. But it'll come to you on the day.
I did do something clever though this week, and I'm glad I did it. Is I went out and did a run on Monday in like my marathon gear because I bought a new pair of shoes, which you've seen. I bought my like a run shirt, the whole thing.
They are very nice.
They're very you'll be hard to miss me on the course. I'm wearing bright red, uh, and anyway, so I think I spoke on a few episodes ago about how am I going to have how many gels I'm going to have in my pockets, and just I actually wanted to run and see what it was like. And I'm really glad I did because I know that there's like, my pendant I'm not going to wear because it was annoying me bouncing around with that singlet on. And like even I wear a headband often when I run because unlike you, I've got really like long, luscious hair. And but it actually like even just that run, all the sweat, I think it gets too sweaty and then I get a lot of sweat, or I'm going to see if my wife can maybe give me, I don't, but there was a lot of things where I'm like, okay, cool. So the gels in my pockets are fine. I'm glad I did it. I think I'm a lot more confident about my equipment selection. And yeah, like I've got so many mates who are doing the event. Mike Mana, who I work for, is also part of the event organizers. So I know that there's going to be a few of my coworkers there as well, which is going to be cool. And they're like one of my best mates and a guy that I've spoken about a lot on this podcast, Rob Woolley, the guy who got me into triathlon. Uh, the guy I went to his wedding last year. I was in his bridal party. He's like truly guy's had such an impact on my life. He's the reason I'm do what I do these days. He's going to run the race with me, and he said he'll pace me. And
That'd be
he's like,
awesome.
Rob's
Who's gonna
such a good
pace
runner.
you?
It's like Rob's an ultra runner. He's like a sub 230 marathon guy. So
Ooh, man can pace then.
yeah, and I'm very like, I know that with Rob, um, if I say to him, let's run 4 minute Ks, he will just like boom metronome that shit. So I'm
Yeah, yeah.
I'm actually, and again
That's
I
what you
actually
need.
yeah.
That's what you need. Hang on to the back of that guy and just stick with him. Take that decision fatigue away from you. Don't have to look at your watch. You don't have to worry about your timing. You're just hanging on the back of someone else. I had Me and Andrew Horsfall Turner had about a half an hour conversation yesterday about you and your marathon and what was going to happen.
Oh yeah, tell me.
And we've come to the conclusion that a sub three is your destiny.
Yeah.
But it was quite a complex conversation. We went quite deep.
I was talking to my physio about it, and I was like, yeah, because everyone, I want to go sub three. I don't really care how I go. Like the further under sub three, the better. But as long as I'm sub three, I don't really mind. And I'm pretty confident. I'm pretty confident with my pacing. To be honest, I've done it. I'm not going to this unprepared. I've done a lot of training for. I haven't prepared so specifically for an event in a very long time, and I'm very confident in my ability to pretty much hold that sort of 4 minute pace at the back end at least. So I know that under a fair amount of fatigue, I can still push that pace. I say that now, I can blow to
Yeah. I
pieces,
mean,
but
we came to the conclusion that those that buttress their running with a huge amount of cycling, they have that late race ability, that energy at the end, that strength come the end to hold that pace. And we both concur that you will do it and you will get a sub three. But the only thing we were discussing was that marathon X factor, that kind of that moment where you've run further than you ever have before at a pace that you've never run at that far before, and what happens in that moment. And yeah, we've come to the conclusion you'll see it through, my man.
the good thing with this race is because you're right, and I remember I've done one marathon 2012. I had no idea what I was getting myself into, and I always say that I know you don't read Harry Potter, but there's the Cruciatus curse in Harry Potter, and I was like, I understand what that curse is now, the torture curse, because that's what my legs felt like at about 35 kilometers. The good thing with this race is that the last major part of the run is in Sydney, like in the city. So you go into the city and then you actually go out to Lady Macquarie's chair, which isn't, it's like the botanical garden sort of things. But then you come in and you're in the city running down to the Opera House to finish. And I've heard that there's like pretty good crowds. So I'm hoping as well that there's going to be that crowd boost. that
Yeah,
sort
yeah.
of brings you home
I
as
mean, it
well. So
happened to me when 2019 when I went out to try and run I think it was a 3:30 or 3:45, and I set off at a 3:30 pace, thinking, I feel amazing. This is awesome. It's going so well. And about mile 18, everything just went kaboom, and I had nothing, and I limped over the line at like 4:04 or something like that.
yeah, please God, don't let that happen to me. I mean, like, yeah, I
No, it
did.
won't. It won't. Don't
Yeah,
don't let that get in your head.
I'm, I,
You're gonna
I
do
I
it.
really do feel confident, to be honest. Like, I'm very, it's a really good feeling going to a race knowing you've done the work, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm very confident that I've done that many goddamn 30K plus runs with like the back 10 or 12K at sub 4 minute pace and stuff that I think it'll, anyway, people don't care about my, if you,
No, we better talk about some pro triathlon, eh?
before we do that, if you want to hear more about Pro Triathlon or get the bonus show that's going to come out today because I didn't release it yet, head to patreon.com/talking triathlon. I didn't release that because I did accidentally talk about Ironman Leeds being announced before the embargo went. So I thought I have to wait until they actually officially announce that race. But we talk about that. We talk about the PTO a bit more than we're going to talk about today, other bits and pieces. As we normally do, we don't go into it with a great amount of plans, see where the conversation goes. Talk a fair bit about the state of sponsorship and some conversation we've both been having with sponsors lately. So head to patreon.com/talking triathlon. As always, WhatsApp group, all the stuff. You hear it every single week. Great way to support us. We really appreciate it. Helps keep the lights on, cover video editors, all that stuff. So if you enjoy it, please head there. James, let's get started with the PTO because
Oh, we're starting with the PTO, eh?
I want to start with the PTO because this is something that
All
came
right.
out this week and there was a little bit of a reaction and then things seems to have just fizzled out a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think it's worth talking about because the PTO came out, and I'm sure you're going to get the press release ready or whatever it is, but they have come out and said that they will no longer be having a separate grand final after T100 Dubai. And instead, the T100 Dubai is their grand final for their 2024 season.
Yes. Sam Renouf has said, who's the PTO CEO, while we originally planned for an 8 race series in 2024 and have been exploring some exciting potential venues, a combination of lining up all the approvals and these locations not quite being ready to hold an event befitting the T100 Triathlon World Championship final, made the decision to move the final to Dubai, an easy one in the end. It's always been our ambition to crown our first T100 Triathlon World Champions in a spectacular race and iconic location. Given the huge interest we've seen in Dubai from both the local and international triathlon community, we've decided that Dubai will give the first year of the T100 Triathlon World Tour the series final it deserves. It'll be our largest event of the year with over 10,000 participants set to compete across a range of distances and individual disciplines, combining the scale with the stunning backdrop of Medayan Racecourse and the Dubai skyline means we'll be finishing our inaugural year with a bang. In addition to crowning the first T100 World Champions, which are officially recognized by the sport's international governing body, World Triathlon, the Dubai T100 Triathlon World Championship final will determine the final split of the record $7 million prize
Blah,
fund
blah, blah,
and
blah, blah,
250K
blah.
being awarded at the race and a further 2 million for the season-long competition.
Now, straight away, I caught up with Sam in Sydney months ago. Like, I actually can't remember. It was very early in the year. And even back then, not that we were talking about the grand final stuff, but Sam said the Dubai race is, if you're going to go to one this year, the Dubai one is the one to go to. Like, we have got something really special. So I think that they've always been planning to make the Dubai race something pretty good. So I think that obviously things haven't worked out. Everybody heard it was meant to be Oman. Oman was meant to be grand final. Literally, you got to be living under a rock in this sport if you hadn't heard that it was going to be Oman for the T100 grand final. I think the fact that they've then gone, okay, it ain't happening. It's still September, so we're a few months out. They've already got a lot of focus on this Dubai race. I think it's a good decision then to go, let's put it here because this race is going to be something special rather than trying to find something literally a couple of months out and retrofit it to be a grand final. And from that point of view, I think it's really, really good. The other part that isn't in that press release, but I think it was Tim Hemming, who's the one who sort of brought it to attention, was what it means for the Olympic athletes. So we have a handful of athletes who are on a different contract to the other Tier 100 athletes in that they only had to race 3 events plus the grand final rather than is it 6 events plus the grand final?
Yeah. So now they only have to race 3 events, including
Two.
the grand final,
Yeah.
which is Dubai.
And they get instead of having the 3 events plus the grand final for their points, it must be 3 events, but anyway, they get the average of their 2 races points as their third virtual result for their points.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know how I feel about this a little bit, to be honest.
I mean, look, it sounds like the mechanisms that were going to allow them to use Oman as that final championship destination just made it impossible to get that across the line.
Hmm.
So in the actual real world, of course, it's a sensible idea if that's the situation you're in to use Dubai as the final race, like you say, not to try and sort of uh wedge something in somewhere that might work and isn't quite as prepared, or they haven't got the runway into it to make it exactly what they want it to be. They can just focus on Dubai. But when it comes to the broader thoughts around the PTO, it's just a little it's another little sort of chink in the armor, isn't it? Of you said this was going to happen, and then at the last minute, oh, I say last minute, last 3 months. I mean, we are coming towards the end of the year now. Um, it's become something else, and the implications, as you said, on the Olympic athletes, with them only having to do two races plus the World Grand Final now. Um, I mean that is what it is. But if they'd announced in January that this was going to be a 7 race series, I don't think anyone would have grumbled. It would have
Yeah.
just been like, it is what it is. That's still
Great first
awesome.
season. A great first
Yeah,
season.
well
And
done.
7 races,
Well
really
done.
admirable. Great
It's the
locations. Yeah.
setting the standard and not quite reaching it that just makes me go like, oh, come on.
Yeah, no, I feel that. And I mean to the I guess the point of the Olympic thing, I feel like because this only really impacts a very small handful of I mean Taylor Nibb had already gone and done she did San Francisco, so she's fine for the 3 races. She does Ibiza and Vegas in the grand final, so she'll have the three. So the only two females that it really implicates is Flora Duffy and Taylor Spivey. And of those two in particular, the one that and I guess I want to talk about it from this point of view is Taylor Spivey, because Taylor Spivey has never, to my best of my knowledge, raced a middle distance race before. Taylor Spivey is also in the middle of race in Supertri, where she's doing quite well at Supertri. So, she's not really going to be having a lot of, like, obviously there's not a race until the 8th of October now, so she's going to be all focused on Ibiza. But that puts a lot of pressure on that first performance for Taylor Spivey now, because if she doesn't have a good result and doesn't get good points, it sort of makes the second race irrelevant, right?
Yeah, it drives that average down, doesn't it?
It makes it almost impossible to then get, because the average, no matter, even if she wins the next race and she has a bad race at that first one, not that I'm expecting her to, but it's also pretty unbelievable to expect that she's going to go and, like, I mean, she could. We've seen what Taylor Nibb and Martin Van Riel have done when they've showed up. But yeah, I feel like suddenly there's a lot of pressure. And even for Flora Duffy, like we've seen Flora do a number of middle distance races and never really well. Like I've always been quite surprised. I've always seen Flora Duffy as an athlete who will transition to middle distance extremely successfully. And we've seen her sort of falter a fair bit. So there's a lot of pressure on those two athletes now with that first performance. If they don't have a good first performance, what's the incentive for them to even try with the second? That's the one thing that I really sort of, and again, I look, you know what? They've tried to come up with what they think is a fair solution, and I respect them for that. They're not just like, no, they just do two now. This is a thing. We need to address it. We need to work it out. Credit to them for that. But I do feel like, and it's just, as you say, part of they plan for a certain outcome. That's when they've entered into these agreements and come up with the rules and everything. And here we are. It's different. And as a result of
What
that,
about what about Nib? Because she won San Francisco, didn't she?
yeah,
So, because she's an Olympic athlete with an Olympic contract,
could
could
she
she
skip
get
one?
away with? Yeah, but could she just race one of these and then
No,
the grand
no.
final?
I think it said that if I think the actual specific wording was if it's an Olympic athlete who hasn't already done an event.
Oh,
I think it's
okay.
how they word it. Because you're right. That would have then suddenly, if you're telling me, be like, I'm gonna skip one.
Yeah, you're just like game on. I'm just going to come and win another one of these things and then do the grand final. And my average is
Three
win
wins
and win, and
and
then
win.
grand final probably win.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's it. I'm pretty sure from the press release. I know, again, it's not like people always criticize we don't do enough research. I'm pretty sure it said that if it's an Olympic distance athlete who hasn't already raced in the men's, the
Just Martin
only
Van Riel, isn't it?
yeah, and he's already done one, so it's saying
And he
won't think he
won
won't go
San
for.
Francisco, so he's in the same boat as Taylor Nibb. So I assume that they would both have to race the remaining series to fulfill their contractual obligations.
Mm. When is it? The women's race is 2 weeks because it's Nice, not this weekend, next weekend, correct?
Yeah, Nice is the weekend after
This.
this one.
Yep.
where the weekend that the podcast is coming out. And then we've got Ibiza on the
The weekend
28th of
after.
September, Las Vegas on the 19th of October, and the Dubai World Championship final on the 16th, 17th of November.
I knew that because I wanted to go to the Dubai race, but it's the same weekend that I'm in Thailand. So yeah, okay. I mean, look, let's not just talk about the negatives here. And although I say that, the PTO might not see this as a positive, but for the athletes, this also gives them a lot more breathing room between the last T100 race and 70.3 worlds because it was the 29th of November was the grand final. So
Mm.
you had Dubai, 2 weeks later you have the grand final, and then 2 weeks later you have 70.3 watts. That's a lot of really high class racing in a very short period of time. So it gives them that breathing room now. There's that month gap kind of to actually really,
And it's also, I mean, if we think about it, apart from the optics being a bit weird, and me just feeling like it's a bit weird, it does mean that they get to finish this series in the way that they want to finish
yeah, of
it,
course.
as
Yeah,
opposed to trying to jam something in. So it's a making a proactive decision at this point is a positive, I think. The
definitely.
whole
Agreed.
thing is going to finish better than it would if they just tried to shoehorn something in. That's the phrase I've been looking for, shoehorn.
I also think that Dubai is a really good location for the grand final. Yeah, I would
Hmm.
rather them do the grand final in somewhere like Dubai than Lake Las Vegas or, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah, totally. I
Miami.
think for the optic for the
Imagine they went back to
aesthetics, sorry.
Samarin.
Uh for the aesthetics of capturing the race on TV, and you're going to get some really awesome shots in Dubai. Um it is a striking place, you know. If nothing else, it's striking, isn't it? And that
What's
and that that's not what you get from some of these American races. They're a bit blur.
Sam was telling
Some
me
of
about
the
how when they found the swim
races.
venue for this Dubai race, and it's basically like a 1.6 kilometer man-made pool. And he was telling me they have like crystals in the bottom to help filter. Like it's meant to be the most crystal clear water, and they don't let like you're not normally allowed to. So they open it up for swimming like 1 day a year or something, and they got them to. So apparently it's meant to be unbelievable. I do find it funny though that when they were having these chats, like who do you thought was like maybe we should, or do you think Samron called them like, "Hey, PTO, it's us. Remember us? You know, you've held your events here. We could do something for you last minute." No, look,
Yeah.
that's what
I
I
hope we're
don't.
going to get some underwater shots then, underwater cameras and underwater footage as if the water's that clear as they swim around. That would be cool.
Yeah,
Divers with
yeah,
underwater
yeah.
camera equipment.
Speaking of, we're going to talk about camera shots a little bit, but I think that the Supertri did a very good camera thing that we'll talk about a little bit later. But look, I don't want to. I do not.
Spinning me out a bit, mate, that we've done the bonus episode this week, and I keep thinking we've already talked about all this, but
I know
it's behind the paywall, some of that chat, isn't it? So we
we're
got to,
pretty brief as well about it, but
yeah.
I don't want to say I don't think this is an. I don't see this as a massive negative here. Like, and I know that it
No,
is.
I don't.
I think it's
No.
like you said. I think there's a lot they've done. They've been very proactive. They've made a definitive decision. They've given the athletes certainty. They've tried to make they have come up with solutions to some complex problems. And again, I always give them credit for it. I think that I'm happy to see them go, no, you know what, we're going to do things on our terms. Well done. Yeah. So that's that. I'm looking
Yeah,
forward to that
absolutely.
Dubai race.
Proactive decision. And yeah, we will see how it shakes out. But so we got Nice first, and then it's straight into Ibiza.
Exactly. Where should we go to next, mate? There's a few different bits and pieces we can talk about. So what do you want to do next?
Shall we have a chat about Kristian Blummenfelt winning the Tour de France?
Let's have it. Let's just have a chat about Kristian Blummenfelt as always, because he's always a good guy to have a chat about.
He is. What a bloke. What a bloke. So yeah, it looks like his potential switch to pro cycling has been put on hold with him clarifying that his next few years is going to be focused on a return to Olympic gold medal winning performance with in 2028 Los Angeles,
Last,
sorry. Got my American locations modeled up with PTO then.
no, it wasn't Christians. It was Olav who said this, right? I think.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, but
I don't think this is a very good decision, to be honest.
no, it's interesting, isn't it? I think
I think it's a good decision and a yeah, it's complicated, but
it
I
is
don't
complicated.
yeah.
He could go and rampage through the long course world now. He's got an Olympic gold medal. He's come 12th in the Olympics where he tried to, defend gold medal, and 12th is an amazing result. Having gone back to long course in between those two events. Um, if I mean, who am I? Fuck off, me. But I've told
I'll tell you,
Kristian
fuck
Blummenfelt,
off, James.
yeah,
I'll do it for you.
I've many times have I said, "What's Blumenfeld doing?" He's proven me wrong. So, Christian, if you're listening,
He is
I get
listening.
it.
He
I
is
should shut
listening.
the fuck up. But mate, go and like dominate long course and become a legend, more of a legend. You're already a legend, bro.
I saw a comment in our group, the WhatsApp group, and I actually thought it was pretty valid. Is based on what happened in Frankfurt. Do you think that maybe do you think that for somebody like Christian, like because he doesn't have those, I mean, he had it in Kona in 2022, but like a lot of the other races that he's done, he's one off the front. Do you think it's a bit boring for him? Like I think the thing that and I understand that as a lot of the people who listen, a lot of the fans struggle to separate their own personal experience of being a triathlete from the professional side of the sport. But do you think that he probably really enjoys that shoulder to shoulder, close, brutal, tactical,
Pushing
aggressive racing,
himself to a limit that he doesn't know whether he can actually cross that line or not,
as
or
opposed to going out and
achieve
doing a
what he's
Lionel
tried to
Sanders
achieve?
time trial? Like maybe that's just not
Yeah, yeah.
like I
And just
can get that. Like, what's the fucking point? I know I'm gonna basically any list I go on, I'm probably gonna win the thing, or like that element of challenge is maybe taken away. And the way they train, right? You know that they train for those Olympics, and like it must be very hard when they've done it as long as they've done it to be motivated when you know you're so good that you're almost like it. I don't know, but there's something to that mindset that I can understand.
yeah, I get it. I get it. But you're a long time retired when that time
Oh,
comes.
I can go win
And,
10
you
Konas if
know,
you can. I'd love to see
yeah,
it.
yeah, etch your name into the sport, my friend.
I have seen some pretty funny memes on a few cycling pages where it's just like pro cyclists reacting to Christian Blumenfeld deciding he's not coming to cycling. They're like, who? What?
Yeah.
Who's
I mean, look, you
that?
know what I said. I said when that announcement was made that he was going to win the Tour de France and he was going to go to the Pro Peloton. I said I'd buy each of our patrons a car if that ever transpired because I was so convinced that it never would. Um, a lot of a lot of cyclists spend their careers trying to become a pro cyclist. A lot of pro cyclists spend their entire careers just trying to go to the Tour de France. A lot of those people at the Tour de France will spend another entire career or another series of times they go to the Tour de France trying to be part of a team that wins a stage. And then there's another layer where there'll be a load of cyclists
Stage winner.
trying to just win a stage, you know, and yeah, the I'm not sure I'm a huge fan of saying I'm going to go to cycling and win the Tour de France, nothing happening, and then a few weeks later saying, yeah, I'm not going to bother anymore.
I see. I disagree. I love
It's
that he's
like
come out and said it because it gives us something to talk about,
I
right?
because I could say that 3 weeks ago, I could say I'm going to win the Tour de France,
I
and
mean,
then I could say, actually,
you do say it all the time, mate. To be honest, it's
if
like it weirdly, guys. Most of the mornings where we start to record, the first thing is like, "My name is James Bell. I'm going to win the Tour de France." I'm like, "Well, settle down, Jimbo." Like, not
you have to edit it out every
yeah,
single week.
it's like, no, like I really like it's my favorite thing about Christian. Like genuinely, I love the big swings. I love that he comes out and makes this. I still remember to this day. It was on our podcast years ago. We got the exclusive when we had Christian and Gustav on together, and they said that they're going to try to win the Olympics and Kona in the same year. And everybody was like, "What the fuck are they talking about?" And then they won the Olympics, and they won the next like he went and won that Cosmo race, and then he won St George, and then he won 70.3 of us, and he did some like I love that they come up. I get it, like that's what
Yeah,
motivates them.
I completely concur, and
I know you do. I know you do.
I
Yeah.
as a I would rather he'd said that than not because it gives us things to talk about and it gives us different angles and it gives people who will like it and people who will dislike it. I'm all for that. But that separate to that, I'm also allowed to hold the opinion
Of course.
that fucking
Well,
absolute bullshit is he going to win the Tour de France?
the other thing I really like with Christian too is his ability or his willingness to like own when he fucks it as well. You know, he was coming out saying, "How is he going to qualify for Kona?" He's like, "Well, I'm going to win the Olympics and I'll get the wild card." And then he doesn't win the Olympics, and he doesn't like just not mention it. He's like, "Well, I didn't win the Olympics, so I didn't get the wild card, So I had to go and do Frankfurt. Again,
Yeah.
it's another reason that I have so much respect for him is that he owns his failures as much as he owns his success. And yeah, the thing I'm interested about that is because what I say, I think it's a positive that he's not going to cycling. Triathlon needs you, Kristian Blummenfelt. You make triathlon wonderful. Is going to try to focus and win the Olympics again the right approach? Firstly, do you think here we are, 4 years out, and I know you hate to do this, and I'd love to make you do it. Will Kristian Blummenfelt win the LA Olympics?
No. I love you, Kristian. And please prove me wrong.
Yeah.
It would make me so happy if in 4 years' time I have to eat that sentence.
Well, let's put something on the line then. Let's put something on the line for you. If he wins the Olympics, what do you have to do? Get a tattoo. You have to get Kristian's face tattooed on your ass cheek.
If he win, I was just going to say I'll give him a signed white tri-suit, but yeah, all right. If he wins the Olympics, I'll get his face tattooed on my ass cheek. If he wins the Tour de France, I'll get his face again on the other ass cheek. So I'll have double Kristian ass cheek.
So it looks like they're
tattoos.
kissing.
So it looks like.
We heard it here first.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so the announcement to go back to again, I heard that and I was like, just again, and having said everything I just said about what motivates him and all those sort of things, I feel like Kristian's pursuit of going to the Olympics, man, he just kind of went invisible for a year. Like we just didn't see, like you think about last year, we didn't really see, he was at races, but he was sort of in there and thereabouts. And we just didn't really, apart from when he'd like pop up at a T100.
Let me fling the question back at you then. Do you think he'll win the Olympics in 2028?
Absolutely not. Like, no, I don't. Like and it's not even about him not being good enough. It is just this historical thing where you see he'll be 34 at those Olympics. He's 30 now. He'll be 34. Look at Vincent Louis. Look at these guys that you like. Unfortunately, the march of time goes on, and as you get older and older, it just becomes hard and hard. And there's been a lot of discussion around these Olympics, and again, people saying that Kristian's numbers might have been better in training than they were in Tokyo, but it's not even that Kristian hasn't got better. It's that the Alexes and the Haydens improved. That level raised, and I always say this: you know that there's people who are watching what Alex and Hayden are doing, and they're going to do it to them. Like they're gonna raise it even more. And I wonder
and that's the thing. I mean, yeah, like you say, he's 30. In fact, he sent me he must have listened to our podcast talking about the London Marathon. He sent me a message the other day and said, "Big year this year. It's the last year we'll both be in our 30s."
There you go.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, again, I have no doubt that his ability to. I look at this year's Olympic start list, and I just knowing that there's going to be, you think
there'll be people that go faster and faster and faster. Like it's like Vince Louis was saying at Super League, his numbers haven't changed. He's not slower than he's ever been. The competition has just got faster.
That's exactly it. And I think that. Well, I mean, the other thing as well is obviously preparing for this short stuff. The way that those Norwegian boys train, it clearly works for long distance racing as well. But again, like I said, I actually do find it quite complicated to sort of, I don't know what he should do, but I can understand why. And again, it's also sort of the thing that we love about Kristian is he does just do whatever. He does it all. Like I do love that we see him racing Ironman sometimes, and then we see him racing Olympic distance sometimes, and we see him racing Supertri sometimes. I do like that, and I don't want to see him just become another Ironman distance athlete that has a YouTube channel and just. But I don't want to see that for him. I think that he's bigger than that, and there's still a lot more. Like I'd like to see him go out and try to do things like set a 1 hour. I'd like to see his 1 hour record attempt, like Lionel did a few years ago. I'd like to see him do different things like that. So, whatever keeps him motivated, whatever keeps him in triathlon. If it means trying to go for the Olympics, go for it.
They did say, despite the results in Paris, we're more confident after that race that going back from Ironman to the Olympics is possible. So they want to give it one last shot. So we might see him, long course for a few years and then focus for a specific block or two.
Imagine if they did it. Imagine if they did it. Like actually, when you're laying there on that tattoo chair with your ass hanging out, the tattoo guy's like, really? Okay. But and I'm sitting there like facing you. Obviously, I'm not at the other end. I'm looking you in the face while this is happening. We're like, mate, how the fuck did he do this? Like it would be.
How did we end up here?
How did we end up here? It was at this moment I realized I fucked. Oh, what is it? I bet you're probably wondering how I got here. I had a pod anyway. Yeah. Yeah, Christian. But look, while we are on Christian, I think it's probably a good way to segue to the next thing I want to talk about, and that is some racing that happened over the weekend. And I want to start with a little random 70.3 distance challenge event that happened in Uzbekistan, and that was Challenge Samarkand. Now, have you watched any of this? Did you get the chance to check it out at all?
I didn't get the chance to watch Chang Samarkand. No.
Mate, I did. I did. I watched the run when I was on the trainer on Sunday. And I want to start by, I'm going to say this. I watched two challenge events over the weekend, and I thought that they did a fucking incredible job of broadcasting these races. Challenge family, I actually emailed them to congratulate them because I thought they did such a good job. Challenge Samarkand for a race in Uzbekistan around a regatta was one of the best. I think there was a lot lacking with the commentary and the stats on the screen or whatever. But from a camera angles and use of cameras and use of drones, and it was one of the best filmed races I've seen in a very long time. They did really, really well. And the actual racing turned out to be pretty great too. Now, do you have the results there, mate? Or do you want me just
I
to?
don't have them in front of me, no, but I can
Well,
find them.
I can talk to it a little bit. And the main thing, basically, blah, 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 blah. Rico Bogan got off the bike with a pretty substantial lead over Christian Gustav and a few other guys. And then you had this race where Christian just hunted Rico down and got to him. I think like the second of 4 laps on the run, they came up to each other. Christian sat behind Rico for maybe 100 meters. And then Christian absolutely dropped the hammer and put minutes into Rico, making it look so easy, so effortless. And then Gustav also ran from third, ran down Rico to get in the second place. And we saw Gustav Eden come second, Kristian Blummenfelt come first, and Rico Bogan come third in a really, I just thought it was a really good venue for a race. I really liked it. I thought that that's the sort of place I could see the T100 doing something really, really cool. It was like I said, it was a regatta. So it was like around a lake that they do the rowing in, and they had boats on the regatta with like a static camera on the boat. So the runners are running along next to the lake, and the boat's just moving along next to them. And my God, man, it was a delight to watch. Like really, it was a
Well, that's
very
really cool.
very well
First
broadcast
time
race.
we've seen Gustav and Christian do a 1-2 since 2022.
Wow, wow.
Yeah. And Iden said, I was really pleased with my performance. At times I was struggling, but other times I felt a bit more comfortable. I was ready to fight for third on the run, but then I suddenly saw the possibility to take second. I'm still 3 minutes behind Christian, but I'm training with him and I know exactly how good he is. So to come 3 minutes behind him is slightly better than I expected, I would say. Neither of us had amazing days. I think I probably had a slightly better one than Christian. So in the end, I'm really happy. It was Norway 1-2. It's like the good old days. That's how funny that he said he had a better day than Christian when he came second to him.
And your boy Rico, like I said, just off the front racing. Honestly,
Yeah,
the guy has the
love it.
heart of a lion. I just love him. I love seeing him race, just doing his thing, going out there having a crack. Uh, Christian looks really good running, mate. Like watching him run, he's got that real bouncy high leg. He just looks good, and I can't see anybody beating him in Kona this year. And I know actually we're not that far out
Blumenfeld.
anymore. Yeah.
Blumenfeld said, I went out in a steady pace for the first 10K, but it seemed like people were sort of overheating. So I was able to catch Rico without running too fast. I haven't had the best stomach for the last few days, so I felt quite flat on energy. So pace-wise, I was able to settle into my rhythm, and I wasn't under pressure there. Ideally, I'd have preferred to run a bit faster.
Yeah, just
Legend.
legend. Like really, yeah,
Yeah.
good. There were some other guys in the. Like, I'm struggling. I know that think Thor Bendix Madsen was in fifth place. I can't remember who was fourth, but yeah, again, challenge family, bravo, well done. Actually makes me want to go do that. Like I'm actually interested in going to Uzbekistan for an event. I thought the venue looked wonderful. In the women's race though, it was an absolute dead rubber. Like Laura Madsen got off the bike with like a 10-minute lead or something. Like it was just at no point in that women's race was it even close to an event. Like Laura Madsen, who is just talk about a former athlete or an athlete building momentum this year. She seems to be instantly like she sort of stormed onto the scene this year, and any race she's on a start list for, I'd probably pick her for a podium, if not the win. And she showed it, mate. Like literally got off the bike at like 7, 8, 9, 10-minute lead or something ridiculous and just smashed it. I don't even know who came second or third, to be honest, because I don't think I saw them on the broadcast. It was literally just Laura Matt. Do you have the results there for the women?
No, I'm trying to find it, but the website isn't very good. It doesn't have any
Let me see if I can find it on Try 24/7.
titles. It just has dates for the results.
Challenge. I do struggle a little bit with the challenge results page.
Yeah, I can't. It's not great, and there isn't anything on a news website we use outlining the women's results. So apologies for that.
Do you want to have a little bit of? I'll keep trying to look it up while you're having a chat about it. Yeah, like what do you like? Laura Madsen in terms of athletic performances, like to get off the bike with that big a gap seems pretty impressive to me.
Yeah, totally, totally. She is a hell of an athlete, and let me just look up
I've
her
got the results.
result.
Laura Madsen was in first place, 3:58:34. Marta Lagownik from Poland, 4:08. So what's that? 8 minute, 10 minutes behind. And third place was Justine Gerard from France, who was 20 minutes, 20 minutes behind. So 10 minutes between
Yeah,
first and second, 10 minutes between second and third. So the women's race was a bit of a, like I said, a bit of a dead rubber, I suppose. But because the other thing we spoke about last week was about Nicole van der Kay being there in the, making her sort of middle distance. She had to pull out because of sickness. So we didn't get to see that, unfortunately. I really wanted to see Nicole do a middle distance race, but we will have to check that for another time.
Laura
But
Madsen smashed this, mate. She
smashed
was
it.
fastest out the swim. She was joint fastest through T1, and then she was over 10 minutes faster than anyone else on the bike. And then she was second fastest on the run. So, yeah, absolutely smashed everybody.
Those Danes can move, mate.
Yeah,
Um,
man.
on the challenge family, because the other race that happened over the weekend was Challenge Beijing happened, and we saw some short course stars come up against some of the best long course races, and this was a race, mate. This was there's a lot to talk about here. So the pro field was 6 athletes deep. There's only 6 athletes on it, and man, I don't think you needed any more than 6. This race was awesome. Now, have you seen any of this? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I watched bits of it, but only in catch up. My most of my weekend triathlon watching was Super League.
Well, basically, we saw a group get out of the swim together, and I think it was like basically 4 or 5 of them. You had Carl Smith, Henry Schumann, Aaron Royal, Tyler Mislachuk was in there,
Yeah, Schumann
Mark
was out the water
Dubrick.
first, I think, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think so. Mark Dubrick, who was on a borrowed bike, and then probably halfway through Tyler dropped off. I suppose he was just struggling a bit with the cold and not having enough time on his TT bike. He dropped off. And then Frederick Funk came through and put minutes into them. Like he just rode straight through them, absolutely ripped the legs off that group. They didn't even go with him. Got off the bike with a pretty good gap. Then that group of Kyle and Aaron and Mark and Henry sort of splintered a little bit. So then you had Kyle and Aaron come into transition a little bit behind. Then Henry and Mark come in together a bit back, and then Tyler came in after. And Kyle Smith
Didn't Funk set off with a fast pace on the run though, didn't he?
yep, took off straight away out
Yeah.
of transition, and then pretty quickly, uh, Carl Smith caught up to Fred, took the lead, and it sort of seemed like it was game over. And then next minute they cut back, and you've got Henry Schumann and Mark Dubrick absolutely murdering the pace. You see them pass Frederick Funk, you see them pass Aaron Roll, and they're men on a mission. And they run up to Carl Smith, which I was like, shit, I didn't expect this to happen. And they didn't just drop him. They then went together for the next few K. And then with about like less than a K to go, Carl Smith just went kaboom and fucking took off, mate. And it was Carl Smith first, Mark Dubrick second, Henry Schumann third in like a truly wonderful race. And as much as I talked about the Samarkand, this race was exceptionally well broadcast. The venue looked fantastic for an event. I've really enjoyed the challenge racing over the weekend, and that men's race was. I mean, the women's races was Paula Finlay won it. I think it was Julie Darren who ran herself into second, I believe, and third place off the top of my head was not Ellie Salthurst. Ellie Salthurst came fourth, so it would have
No,
been
Ellie Saltos was third.
really.
It was
Are you sure?
oh no, I'm reading sorry, I'm reading out the water. We're not having a blinder this week, am I?
It's Paula Finlay
Bloody
first,
hell.
Julie Darren second, and third place,
Yeah.
or maybe Julie Darren was third.
But. Darren impressive following a silver medal in Paris a couple of years ago. Finley took the top spot in 157.36.
Lucy
Byron
Byron was
finished
second.
second with
Lucy Byron was second.
157.
Sorry,
Darren claimed third in 158.28.
shouldn't have forgot
Ellie
Lucy
Salthouse
Byron.
in fourth with Sean Rainsley in fifth, and then Amelia Watkinson completing the top six.
Yeah, no, really, just genuinely. And again, 1 hour 50 race. If you guys are looking for something to do, watch the replay on YouTube. Again really really enjoyed this race, and I thought that Carl Smith just did Carl Smith things. He's also
Yeah, yeah,
looking really good this year.
he's a unique cat, isn't he? With his ability to I mean, this was a shorter distance than we see him racing, we see him competing in. And and to be able not only because you would think when two athletes catch him when he's out the front, you think it's over for him, don't you? You know, you just think, well, he's gonna come home for third now. But to be
Especially
able to
Henry, yeah.
rally, yeah, to be able to rally and repass and take the win is it's remarkable. I've got a quote from him here. He said it was a really tough race. One thing I had today was my head, and I have a mantra. It is keep moving forward, and that's what I had to do. I've also got a quote from Paula Finley. He said, it's really hard. I haven't raced an Olympic distance for a long time, and it was just painful the whole way. I forgot how to do that 10-kilometer speed, but I had to keep reminding myself it was a short race and go hard. I'm super happy with the win.
Yeah, no, again, really, really great. I thought that I'd love to see them that venue to me look like somewhere because it's in a park, right? Like they sort of have this whole enclosed park with it. I'd love to see them do like a T100 race there. Like that looked to me like that's the sort of event, not necessarily that place, but those sort of venues. I think they could do something really good because while the crowds weren't huge, the venue was interesting enough that it didn't matter. We were talking about this in the WhatsApp group, right? Where I was saying that there's enough interesting stuff at that venue that you're curious and you're like, oh, what's this and what's this? Whereas if you're just in a construction zone, it's a bit. But no, I thought wonderful, wonderful racing. Do you want to stay on races or do you want to talk about announcements? What do you want to do now, Jimbo? Because we have
I think
another
we can have a
race.
chat about Super League, haven't we?
Yeah. Do you want to quickly talk about Ironman UK and then finish with Super Try, or do you want to go Super Try
Yeah, all right,
finish?
let's do that. Let's do that. So Ironman have announced, as we teased in the bonus episode, actually, you didn't just tease it, you blurted it out, hence why the bonus episode hasn't been released yet. But
Yeah.
Ironman have announced that Leeds will be the next venue for their full distance race in the UK. The Ironman Leeds Triathlon will take place on the 27th of July 2025, with priority registration opening on the 24th of September. We haven't got route maps yet on the website. They said they are yet to be announced. I assume they'll release those when it comes time to open the priority registration, but I am told it's going to be quite a hard race.
It seems like most Ironman races in the UK are difficult. And I mean the UK, like Swansea, Bolton was a tough course. This one seems like it's going to be a tough course. Like they do tend to put on the tougher races in the UK because you Brits are just so tough, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what'll happen is it'll be a fucking horrible day. It'll be raining. It'll be grey. The swim will be cancelled, and they'll just do a bike to run.
Look, there's a few things with this event that I think that Leeds is kind of the unofficial home of triathlon in the UK. Or maybe it's
Yeah,
official, I
without
don't know,
question.
because it's where the Brownlees are from. We've seen the WTCS events happen in Leeds for so long. As I sort of touched on the bonus episode, the thing that is interesting about all of this is that, WTCS lost their Leeds event. They went to Sunderland. And you sort of and again, even Ironman, like we talked about the fact that they got rid of Bolton. We were saying, what the hell is going on with the United Kingdom in terms of Ironman race? Like there's nothing in England. So to see them come back with an Ironman race and go to Leeds shows me that there was stuff happening in the background, right? Like I don't think there's any
Yeah,
accidents.
without question.
Uh,
Without question. It's the same weekend as the Outlaw race, I think,
I
as
heard
well.
this. So can you give me some?
Shame. Why is everything on the same fucking weekend all the time?
Do you think? Because I asked this, is that outlaw race always on the same weekend, or do you think it's something that? Because we're talking about next year July. Is it an event where Ironman or sorry Outlaw could go, hey, Ironman's the same weekend now. We're going to move ours a couple of weeks either side, or a month earlier, or later,
Yeah,
or
I mean, it'll probably the Outlaw event will probably always be in the ballpark of that time of year. I don't see them moving it. They'll have already had all their permits and stuff in place. You know, it will have been arranged by now. I don't think it will make a huge amount of difference. I think anyone who is going to be racing Outlaw will have already signed up, will
where
already
is
be training
outlaw?
for it. Uh,
England?
somewhere.
I just wonder how
Yeah.
close, like geographically, they are. Because yeah, I don't know, but it's good that Ironman come back. I hope there's a pro race. Like I really hope there's a pro race at this event because there's like you're hearing like, is this gonna be another age group race? I
Yeah,
think
I'm told they haven't decided yet.
so was I. I was told that too.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, come on. Because again, I'm actually surprised how few pro races there are. These like if
I
you
mean,
actually look at
I
the
think there are clues. There are telltale signs, aren't there? They got almost every British pro long course athlete to do a reel linking together.
even if some forget to do it in time and then don't make the cut because they Missed the deadline. Not naming names. So who could that be? I can't think of anybody who that might have been.
I know who that is. I know who that is. But yeah, so I mean, if you're gonna, I
Yeah.
realize that the pro they could just be using it as promotional material to get people to sign up, but you would think if you've got all those pros engaged and energized about a race, you're gonna give them the opportunity to go and do that race. So I would assume there's gonna be a pro race on this.
And it will fall into the middle of the year. So it's July, isn't it?
Yeah, July. It's the same day that I'll be racing Alpe d'Huez next year.
There you go. Yeah, cool. So anyway,
There you
good on
go.
you. Again, I think that Ironman has a place in the UK. Like it's an important market for them. So it's good to see that they've got, and it's called Ironman England, not Ironman UK, right?
That's what it says. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Interesting. Like,
The swim will take place in a lake, the same venue used for World Triathlon Championship Series Leeds, and then there'll be a 112-mile bike course around the Yorkshire Dales National Park, which will be incredible. That will be a hell of a ride. I don't know if you've ever been to the Yorkshire Dales, but it's stunning. It's hard. It's brutal. It'll be July, so hopefully it'll be warm and sunny and hot, and it'll be a gorgeous day out on the bike. And then there's a 26.2-mile run around a multi-lap course around Roundhay Park and scenic surrounding areas. So it will be a beautiful race, mate.
do you remember
Racing around the Yorkshire Dales will be something to go and do.
we had Georgia Teller Brown on the podcast years ago, and she was talking about the Dales and the Moors, and I had no idea, and she had to explain to me what the Dales were. So that's how I know
Yeah.
what they are. But no, I've never been there. Again, I think it's good, and there's so many there, like the Brownlees, Beth Potter's based up there. There's a lot of Is British Triathlon there, or are they what's it, Loughborough or the other? Like it's
Loughborough, yeah.
Loughborough. It's
Loughborough.
but Leeds is the HPC, right? That's where the Brownlee Training
Yeah.
Centre is, and
Yeah, Leeds is the hub of everybody. A lot of the short course people will be training in and around Leeds.
there you go. Cool. I'm in Leeds. Speaking of short course, guys, let's transition swiftly to another race that happened in the UK over the weekend. Supertri London happened. Tell me about it, James.
Mate, I watched both these races. That women's race was absolutely incredible. And I think that's where we should start
I agree.
because it was astounding. And to see it come down to such a close finish at the end, Cassandra Beaugrand never fails to amaze me. But I think Olivia Mateus has to be given a massive shout out for all the work she did all day, and then to be off the front right in the at the death of it, to be looking like she was gonna have a sort of her breakthrough race, but only just finish off the podium. I know she finished in sixth place in the end, but it was a hell of a performance from her.
Yeah, and I think you're talking about Cassandra, the fact that she was like what 23 seconds down after the first.
Yeah.
And again, people are going 23 seconds is nothing. In Super Try, that is a significant.
Yeah, going into the final triathlon, she was 17 seconds down out of the water. So
Yeah.
she got into T1 of that final swim bike run, 17-second deficit. And she made that up on the bike and then the run. And then she was put herself in position, in the position for essentially a sprint finish. And I realized that it's a sprint finish where Georgia Taylor Brown had a huge advantage, but Cassandra Beaugrand brought that advantage right back down and they finished just behind each other. In fact, it was only a second behind each other. So it's remarkable. If she'd been a little bit closer, or that finish had been 200 meters further away, I think Cassandra would have taken it because that closing speed that she had, it looked like Georgia Pereira Brown was going to have an opportunity to celebrate and showboat down the finish line, but she had to leg it, mate.
I did see Cassandra say she wasn't actually trying to outsprint Georgia. She just wanted to get away from Jean Leham. My own bullshit. But no, again, I think that the fact that we saw Cassandra like show that maturity. I mean, we're talking about the Olympic champion, right? Like it shouldn't be like, oh, she's some novice. She's clearly a very, very talented athlete. But I think that we know that if Cassandra has one weakness in racing, it is that, when the course is a bit technical, and especially when it's wet, she does seem to be a little bit hesitant, uh, even though she won the Paris Olympics with rain on the bike. So you sort of saw that. I assumed that when it started, because that London course is fucking technical, mate. It's tight. There's cobbles. There's no room for error. You saw that gap sort of form on the bike pretty early. So to bring it back as the course dried out and stuff was really, really great. But like, I just love this venue for a
It
race.
shows real composure, doesn't it?
Yeah, and then
A
Georgia
real
just
composure and a lack of panic or or just doesn't lose her head, just stays in the game, chips away, and puts herself in a position to win it at the end if she had that little bit of extra runway.
But again, I think Super Try, this was an exceptional race. The women's race was really, really exciting. And then the men's race. Now, the men's race I think was again awesome, but for me, very different to the women's race. And again, I've spoken about this a lot, and I do tend to focus on crown racing because I'm involved with them. But and I don't know if this is true. I've not had any, but I feel like what we saw in the men's race was actually some really tactical team racing. Like we keep talking about the like that women's race. I didn't really see. There's not really much happen in terms of the teams, right? It's like they all sort of just do their own thing, and some of them are part of the team. Cassandra said she didn't try to outsprint Georgia because she's a teammate. Okay. The men's race, however, I feel like we are seeing some actual tactics. Alex here was very quickly isolated again, like he was in Chicago. Never
Yeah, I
came
mean, he
back.
said that he was mentally fatigued, physically fatigued after the Olympics. So, you know, and
Boston,
we
he
have
wasn't.
seen two races in a row where he's struggled. So, but you're right. I think you are starting to see some clever team tactics play out.
But even things like that, the two stars and stripes guy were up the front, so they got the swim short shoot, and then that group that chase group that had the crown guys in it and everything on the front didn't bridge up to close the gap on the bike, which I think they could have, to be honest. So that the stars and stripes got the second short shoot or eliminated the opportunity for anybody else to get a short shoot, and then Hayden just ran through and secured the third one. And again, I don't know if this is true, but if that was team tactics and strategy, what they did is they gave their least the people they're least worried about, the team that was currently in fourth place, the short shoot, and then they eliminated the chance for podium and Brownlee Racing, so Yee's team and Tim Don's team, to get a short shoot, which gave them then an even bigger advantage. Like from that point of view, I thought again, if it's true, brilliant. Like actually
Yeah.
brilliant racing. And again, same thing with Max Stapley again. I really feel like he's playing his team role. He's there around Yee. Like he sort of again was in that bike group with Yee.
Yeah.
Ain't
Buzzing
pulling him
around
up.
him a little bit.
Very close to him in the swim. Again, we know how good a swimmer Max is, and the fact that he's getting out of the water with someone like Yee, I hope or I choose to believe that maybe he's there just trying to agitate, not do anything untoward, not like dunk him or anything. But you know how annoying it is when you swim. You got that person that's just next to you the whole time. And like if there again, I think that it's what you want to see. If this team racing is really the future of Super Tribe, we need to see more team dynamics and team elements. But Hayden Wild, mate, just again, it's Hayden.
Yeah.
Like once you eliminate Yee, those two are so far above everybody else. Like at
Yeah.
no point did I think Hayden wasn't going to. He's just
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, that's what I almost said last time as well. And I didn't say it, and I felt I should have done, which was watching that previous race, the previous Super Tri race. Even though Hayden said he wasn't racing at the front, he didn't race like he wanted to race. At no point during that race did I feel like he wasn't going to win it. And I
mm.
felt exactly the same watching this one. I felt like at no point did I feel like this wasn't Hayden's to win.
And
I
it just
didn't
yeah,
feel
yeah.
like there was any real competition for him or anybody that was a real threat to take that victory away.
And that's because is that once Yee isn't there for that run, if Yee was next to him on the run, I think Yee's got it every single time. If there's two of them together, get off onto the run together, I think Yee's going to win it. You can't beat Alex. Hayden cannot beat Alex Yee on that last run. It's not possible. And that's what we said. They're not letting it happen. So again, I think that if I'm right, and I don't know if maybe he's just having a bad day, a couple of them. Brilliant, like actually brilliant, brilliant racing. But yeah, it was really good to see. I really enjoyed it, and I also really like to see the crowd coming out to support Alex as well. Like you can see the impact of having a British Olympic champion there, like the crowd support, the way when he was coming through to finish and he was high fiving everybody and stuff. Like it must have meant a lot uh, for that British crowd to have Alex there. It's, you
Yeah.
guys are used to having the Olympic champion, right? You've had it 3 out of the last 4. So, yeah, I thought that was really good.
I mean, but also we got to talk about the venue. The venue, I think,
So
out
good.
of all of the Super Tri races I've seen so far, despite it being, I mean, like I said, I know I've said this on the bonus show. I feel like I'm repeating myself, but I'm not because this is for a wider audience. I used to live in that part of London. I used to live about 800 meters away from where they do that Super Tri racing. I lived there for a year and a half, 2 years, and it ain't the most thrilling part of London. It's not. It's not got much of a community. It's quite a transient community because a lot of people go there in the week to work and then live elsewhere. It's not got a vibe to it, but it really suits this style of racing. It suits the camera shots they go for because you've got that Canary Wharf backdrop, you've got the river, And then you've got the cobbles, which adds an interesting historical element and also a sort of technical element to the racing. And they got to do those drone shots
The
as
drone
they were
shots,
running
mate.
down.
How good were they?
Yeah, it was. I think this particular venue really suits the way Supertri race, and it just looked amazing on the TV.
The only nitpicky thing I want to say about it's not even nitpicking. I'd love to see them do a night race here. I'd
Yeah,
love
that'd
to
be
see
cool.
them do a race at Canary Wharf under lights. I think it could be so cool.
But not PTO lights,
No.
actual
Uh,
lights.
yeah, real lights. Yeah,
Yeah,
not Miami lights, actual. But
not
imagine
my
like like
not Miami
like
pitch black lights.
like lights under the swim. You have lights under the water so that
Yeah,
they're
yeah, that'd be
like
cool.
I think it could be so cool. Although maybe not in
With
in
a
the Thames because
DJ
you
playing and a
you might see
smoke machine,
you might
and
see what's in the
everyone's
water.
shit faced.
I mean, imagine
Be
it.
amazing.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. So look, Super Try, and the next race is Toulouse, which I think is their best course. So
Yeah.
we've got some good stuff coming up. But Crown Racing is in first place. Hayden Waters leading the series. Georgia Taylor Brown is leading the series. Good
Ground
stuff.
racing in first, podium racing in second, Stars and Tripes in third, and Brownie racing in fourth. The difference between first and second on the team front is only 8 points. So podium racing are keeping them honest, but then there is quite the deficit to the other teams. On the overall, Georgia Taylor Brown is leading Jan Lahair with Taylor Spivey in third on the women's, and on the men's, we've got Hayden Wild in first, Matt Hauser in second, and Vince Louis in third.
Good on you, Vince.
Vince isn't having those blinding results, is he? But he's consistent and he's up there. He's in fifth, he's in sixth. You know, he's in that sort of top five, top six zone, which is scoring him the points and means that at the moment he's got a podium finish in his future if he keeps going like that.
Yeah, I'd love to see him get a podium. I don't think he's got a victory in him, but I think he's got a podium in him. That would
Yeah.
be great. Jimbo.
Hauser, love it. Good work, Matt.
Yeah, it's because he didn't have the moustache. That's it. We're done. If people want to find out more, where do they need to go?
Yeah, if you want to support the show, jump on at patreon.com/talking triathlon. If you want to follow Tim, he's at tford14 on Instagram, and I'm at bale.james85 on Instagram. We're across all social networks at Talking Triathlon on Insta and at Talk Triathlon on Twitter. Don't use Twitter. It's fucking horrible now. I hate it. If you join the Patreon group, you get access to the monthly bonus episode and the social group, and we'll put you in the WhatsApp group. The WhatsApp group is the best thing about this entire community because it's just like a hive mind and it's great fun in there. And yeah,
Perfect.
that's it.
YouTube, come give us your thoughts. Let us know if you think Christian's going to win the Olympics.
Comment on the video on YouTube, even if you think we're on crack or whatever.
Yeah. What was the other one? There's some funny things. What was the other? The Christian's not great. And I was like,
Not
is
as
this
good as Sebi Keenley.
is this you, Sebi? Guys, thank you very much. We'll be doing a Ironman World Championships preview episode next week. We'll try to get a special guest on for that one. Jimbo, a pleasure as always. I'll talk to you later.
I'll be your man. I'll be your man on the ground in Nice.
Perfect. All right, mate. Talk to you later.
Cheerio.